Hi, I'm Mbonu C. Obiageli, and here goes Pedagogy, where I talk to you about social, political, and economic matters in the form of a 1,000-word essay to grow your mind. Subscribe and keep watching. There are 1,500 World Development Indicators provided by the World Bank for tracking the progress of global development initiatives, including the Sustainable Development Goals. Yet, I have often argued, and will argue here again, that for the African continent, meeting the targets of the WDI, including education, health, poverty, trade, infrastructure, and climate change, is primarily dependent on the fundamental step of solving the continent-wide energy problem. Energy remains the lifeblood of any socioeconomic development, but in 2025, there are still over 600 million Africans, about half of the continent's population, without access to electricity, accounting for a staggering 83% of the global deficit. How then can we develop? With the above premise as the principal conviction guiding my career journey, I serve as an energy specialist where I work at the intersection of policy, finance, and energy to increase renewable energy uptake and drive energy efficiency. In the African energy landscape, it appears that there are competing and conflicting priorities. Two schools of thoughts exist. Climate policy resistance continues in parts of the continent as elitist groups at risk of stranded fossil fuel assets continue to push the narrative that resources, fossil fuel in this case, should not be abandoned but must be used to realize the urgent need for human development on the continent. The second group proposed that the green transition presents a critical juncture, like many others before it, such as the Industrial Revolution, the Internet Revolution, wherein further divergence in the wealth of nations will take place, and nations who do not act urgently in alignment with green objectives could lose out on the race to sustainable prosperity and risk suffering further devaluation in their economies. Therefore, it is this dualism in energy and climate on the continent that has attracted me to energy development on the African continent. That we need energy to power the African economy, but that sticking with widespread non-renewable energy can deteriorate our climate, ruin our economy, and leave us behind in the long run as a new global era erupts. Essentially, the question is, how can Africa leapfrog into global prosperity and development without further climate deterioration or its negative impacts? In light of these arguments, from October 2025, I am set to resume in the southeastern African country of Malawi under the Mission 300 project, an ambitious initiative to connect 300 million sub-Saharan Africans to electricity by 2030, which is jointly administered by the World Bank and the African Development Bank. My vision for making the world a better place begins truly with lighting up the African continent sustainably to set off the ripple effects of development that should follow. Come with me as I show you my briefing in Nairobi.